The 10th pick in your fantasy draft. Let's go through everything you need to know to dominate. We're going to talk through strategy. We're going to talk through tips, the players you need to target, the players you might need to avoid, and everything in between for this draft. Let's go, baby. What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
What's going on, guys? I am Graham Barfield, one of the co-owners at this glorious site, FantasyPoints.com. Thank you for checking out this video. You've got the 10th spot in your league. If you have another draft, maybe in a couple days, where you're picking, like, I don't know, 3rd, you're picking 5th on Sunday or something like that, go back, scroll back through the channel. We've got you covered. John Hansen and I have been covering every single pick from every single position and giving you all the strategy that you will need from those spots. So today, 10 pick, we're going to be drafting on Sleeper. I'm using Fantasy Points tiers based on projections. This is coming straight from my Top 150 article, powered by projections, which are done by our analytics director, Chris Wecht. And yeah, we're going to be drafting from that today. Hopefully drafting the best team possible from the 10th spot. I will say this is like, I think the worst spot is 12. The second worst spot is 11. 10 is almost okay because you're at the end of tier 1. You might get a couple players that fall to you here at 10. If some of your league mates 1 through 9 maybe make a mistake, you could get a player well within tier 2. The tier 1 players will be gone. Those are McCaffrey, Bijan, Brees, CeeDee Lamb, and Tyreek Hill. Those guys are gone. But the tier 2 players, pretty solid. You could maybe get the end of, one of these guys at the end. As I always say, before you get in to your league, before you get into your draft, make sure you are very, very well equipped and know all your league settings. This league, PPR league, 12 teams, like we said, start 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 2 flex, 1 tight end. I always say it in every league where it's PPR, especially in PPR leagues, and you have to start 3 receivers. I am more likely, actually way more likely, to take receivers earlier this year. The reason for that, 1, big spike weeks are typically found at receiver in the early rounds, and 2, you just have to start more of them, right? If you're required to start 3 running backs, guess what? It's gonna increase the value of all running backs in general. You're gonna want more of them. Makes them more scarce in the late rounds, kind of almost like a echo chamber effect where it makes all running backs more viable. Okay, in this league, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 2 flexes. I think in this type of format, this is a pretty typical format. You're probably going to be starting at least 1 running back in that flex spot, probably 30% of the time, unless you've just got like hammer wide receivers. In PPR, that's typically the way I like to go. In full PPR, you just get a little higher floor with some of these receivers. It makes their volume, not more projectable. It just makes it a little more bankable in terms of total points. It also decreases the value of some of the early down, kind of hammer running backs that don't really get a lot of targets. Guys like Gus Edwards. So always keep that in the back of your mind in PPR. But other than that, man, you really shouldn't change your strategy all that much. I think between half and full PPR, there's a couple of receivers that become scams every year. There's a few players like Alvin Kamara when he catches 12 receptions. He catches 12 balls, has 12 PPR points. That's a little bit of a scam in PPR. But other than that, you really shouldn't be changing your projections too much. Okay, let's get started. 10 pick. We're drafting the best team possible. Get your Fantasy Points cheat sheet today, fantasypoints.com/plans. Use code SCOREMORE, all caps, 10% off. And like I said, we have a chance at a tier 2 player. Top 9 picks were pretty chalky. I think maybe the only not chalky pick was Wilson over A.J. Brown. We're happily taking A.J. Brown here. I have A.J. Brown ahead of Garrett Wilson in my rankings, also ahead of Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs. I just think he has an apex ceiling of a top 5 wide receiver. Target competition is obviously a little more, I it's a little more than Garrett Wilson. It's a lot less than Justin Jefferson, especially with no TJ Hawkinson. But A.J. Brown, he's always been the premier target earner. We will take him at 10, and we were hoping maybe to get one of these backs here. More than happy with Jahmyr Gibbs. He's at the top of tier 3, right behind Jonathan Taylor. Barkley went. He's actually, in fact, below Kyron. Just a little low on Saquon this year. I think between Jalen Hurts and the tush push, between Barkley being a good runner, but never super efficient like we saw at Penn State. When he came out, he was one of the best running backs per yards created. He was electric his rookie season. He was electric when he was the RB1. Last couple of years, the efficiency metrics have started to decline. And Jalen Hurts, man, he doesn't target his running backs very often. If he's trying to escape the pocket, he's more likely to scramble for 5, 8, 10 yards to get the first down as opposed to checking down. A little lower on Barkley. I wouldn't say he's a bad first-round pick. Like, there have been way worse first-round picks in fantasy football history. But that's just not where I'm going in round 1. I think his ceiling is a little bit capped. I'm looking for players with elite ceilings in round 1. Not to say that Barkley, can't pay off his draft capital. I just don't see the path to a RB1 season like McCaffrey, like Bijan, like Brees have. Just because, 1, they're going to be scoring all the touchdowns, hopefully, in the red zone. And 2, a little more PPR juice for both of those backs. Brees Hall, Bijan Robinson, both 80 targets last season. Saquon Barkley, that would be a absolute ceiling outcome if he were to get 80 targets this coming year with the Eagles. Okay, back on the clock here. Looking at a couple more receivers. We're happy with the back we got, especially in PPR. Jahmyr Gibbs, really good, solid floor in round 2. Probably needs David Montgomery to either fall by the wayside, fall off a little bit, or get hurt to absolutely crush his draft position. But Lions running backs behind this offensive line, especially a talented one as Gibbs, in round 2, man, certainly can make a case for upside. And for this team, and especially for the draft strategy we're about to do, we're about to unload on some mid-round receivers, guys. These ADPs make no sense. It is one of the least efficient receiver markets I can remember in fantasy history. I think it's a little bit of best ball brain getting into the meta. I think it's a little bit of some of these mid-round runners just not profiling as near as well as some of these receivers. And when I'm on the clock, man, I cannot click Rachaad White over DJ Moore or Cooper Kupp here. I just cannot do it. Rachaad White obviously had a great season last year. He paid off big. Oh, no, we got sniped on Kupp. I was hoping we could maybe get Kupp on the turn. We'll come back here. I'll bring back up the point I was going to make on Rachaad. Let's go through the tiers here real quick. We got a minute and a half. DJ Moore was at the top of the tier for me. Cooper Kupp was in there as well. I was hoping to maybe sneak Kupp through. Probably should have taken Kupp first, but really wanted DJ Moore for this team. Okay. Looking down the board a little further, it's really Metcalf, Neighbors, and you guys know who I'm scrolling down for. You guys have watched all these streams, right? For this team, man, I think we could also go here, and we will. We'll take Jalen Hurts, and then we're going to come back and just hammer these receivers. I haven't taken elite quarterback just yet on these streams, but 4th round Hurts, just especially for this team, feels so good. And especially when you can do this. Come on. Rashee Rice in the 5th round, man, is just stealing at this point. This is a player, Rashee Rice, I've got, I won't tell you how high above ADP, in my rankings. It's by far the biggest discrepancy overall, though. With Rice, I've been saying it till I'm blue in the face. Their suspension risk matters very little to me. Players get hurt every single year. 5th round receivers are going to stink. A few of these guys are going to stink. They're going to get hurt. I don't really care too much about the suspension risk. As long as it's not during weeks 15 through 17, we are all good. Rashee Rice last season was targeted on 28% of his routes that tied Justin Jefferson and Nico Collins for the 11th highest rate among wide receivers. Absolutely smash pick in the 5th round. Okay, we're back up here. The call to me is like clearly these two receivers, right? Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson was just traded. He's got, big boost in play rate. Washington's going to play a lot faster this year with Cliff Kingsbury. Really diminished target competition. Jaden Daniels obviously loves to throw deep. Can throw deep. I really like McLaurin. He's vaulted way up my rankings since Dotson was traded. Just one fewer target here. I mean, at the end of the day, he's going to be competing for targets with De'Ami Brown, Olamide Zaccheaus, Luke McCaffrey, a rookie. Ben Sinnott, Zach Ertz. McLaurin has basically been a shoo-in for 130 targets for 4 straight seasons now at this point. But this is the best. This is the best chance he's had to become, instead of being a wide receiver 2, how about you become a wide receiver 3? Okay, we've got 4 really good wide receivers here. We could take one more. I would be interested in Jake Ferguson at this point. However, there is a running back here who I am a little lower on than ADP, but for this team, he makes a ton of sense, y'all. We only have one running back. I think Raheem Mostert is like a classic start fast running back, right? Like, he's 32 years old, but we know he's going to have bankable volume early in the season. Maybe as the season goes on, Devon Achane takes over a little more. The other back I have in this spot here is Jaylen Warren. Now, I have Warren ahead of Mostert in my ranks. However, as you can tell, Mostert is going nearly 15 picks ahead of Warren, especially in PPR leagues where Warren gets that boost due to his receiving role. Raheem Mostert does not have much of a receiving role at all. We are going to try to scoot through Mostert here and take Warren or this guy that we just queued up at the next pick. So here we go. We're gonna try to do it. Hopefully we won't get sniped like we did with Kupp. Probably should have taken Kupp ahead of DJ Moore there. Nope. He takes Jake Ferguson. Perfectly fine. We'll take Jalen Warren. Nice little 3 running back room with Gibbs, Mostert, and Warren. And I kind of like doing that. I like blending styles, right? Like, we've got 2 really good PPR backs in Gibbs and Warren. And then we've got a touchdown hammer in Raheem Mostert. Like I said, early in the season, I expect Raheem Mostert to be, heavily involved. And as the year goes on, we'll see more of Devon Achane. We'll see more of Jalen Wright. Mostert will always probably be the goal line back this season as long as he's healthy. However, just tremendous, tremendous upside with all of these Dolphins running backs. Okay, we're back on the clock. Tight end died. I think when this happens, I'm just perfectly fine punting. We could have taken Jake Ferguson over Raheem, but man, for this team build, we really needed these 2 backs here to kind of make this team work. So we're going to take the other back that was in our queue, the back that we've been taking in every single stream. I've been saying it on all of these drafts, all of these strategy videos. You really want to leave your draft with a Bengals running back. We have Chase Brown right ahead of Zach Moss, but at the end of the day, I'm fine with either one of them. The Bengals are a top 5 team in implied points per game at the DraftKings look-ahead lines. This team is going to score touchdowns. Both Brown and Moss are capable receivers. I think Brown is probably more explosive at this point. Moss, the better pass protector. At the end of the day, if Brown becomes a better pass protector, he might just be the bell cow here. I think that's probably what the Bengals want the most. Is just that, right? Okay. One final back. This turned out to be a really, really good running back group. Even with Jahmyr Gibbs, this could have almost been a 0 running back team with these backs. We'll take Tyjae Spears. Obviously, way more competition this season. Tony Pollard, him and Tony Pollard are going to be in a split role. However, we have Tyjae Spears ranked ahead of Pollard. We think Spears is straight up the better player, the better receiver. We think he's going to be, at the end of the season, the guy that you'll probably want to have rostered. But both are going to be heavily involved. Okay, when this happens, when I'm just absolutely punting tight end, look, we've got 4 really good receivers. We'll take one more. Yeah, we'll take one more. We don't need another quarterback, obviously. We've got the quarterback in Jalen Hurts, stacked with A.J. Brown. We love that. This team, you guys see the player I have in my queue. He's the most annoying player in fantasy history. However, he's going to have a role this year, y'all. I hate to tell him. And I also hate to tell you he's a really good pick right now. When you can play him at tight end, there are going to be weeks where he scores 3 fantasy points. There are going to be weeks, though, where he gives you 16 to 18. Last season, when Taysom Hill played 25 or more snaps, he was the tight end 8 in PPR, y'all. The tight end 8. Only maybe like half a point behind George Kittle. He was ahead of Cole Kmet. It's more of like an unpredictable best ball type of thing. But however, I mean, the average was really good in his starts last year. There's a pathway to a larger role. Also, he is the goal line back. It's absolutely incredible. Taysom Hill, the goal line back. In their 26 games together, Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill have basically split carries right down the middle, inside the 10. I have been taking Taysom along with one of Tyler Conklin and Noah Fant, Hunter Henry. I think Colby Parkinson is a little interesting early in the season. We'll just see what the role looks like. I don't know if I see a big pathway to earning targets for Parkinson. Like, Tyler Conklin has already been that player, like just very, very quietly because he hasn't scored touchdowns. Tyler Conklin has like absolutely been allergic to the end zone only because the Jets have been allergic to the end zone. But over the last 2 years, Conklin is tied for 8th among all tight ends in total targets. Like I said, he's earned the looks. He just needs more touchdowns. So this is kind of the pairing I like. Just if you're just going absolute like punting total, like I haven't touched tight end for 10 rounds. I've got an elite quarterback. I've got really good receivers. We have great running back depth on this team. I think this is a team build where it makes a lot of sense to punt tight end, stream the position. In PPR, we've got some upside with touchdowns with Taysom Hill and Tyler Conklin, like we said, as a target earner. Like that pairing quite a bit. Also, Noah Fant, Hunter Henry, Colby Parkinson. Those are the other couple of late-round tight ends I have my eye on. Okay, we've got room for one more wide receiver, like we said. The pool is dead. I do like Dontayvion Wicks a little bit. Jahan Dotson, as we just noted, was just traded. He is no longer a part of fantasy relevancy as a third receiver for the Eagles. I mean, the guy had a 15% target share on the Commanders last year. What's his target share going to look like when he's competing for targets with A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith and Saquon Barkley and Dallas Goedert? It's not going to be good. So no go there. The one guy I have significantly, actually maybe not significantly, I also like kind of like Rashee Shaheed. Dontayvion Wicks might be the best receiver on the Packers. He had the best yards per route run last year. He had the best separation metrics per ass at FantasyPoints.com. Dontayvion Wicks might be really good at football. I have no idea how many routes he's going to run week 1. Like, this dude, he might be a true part-time player, and you just absolutely cut him week 1 or after week 1 for the top running back waiver wire target of the week on this team. But Wicks, nice little player, has a pathway, but, Packers, of course, they're going to rotate receivers. We finally got our guy at kicker. This is my favorite kicker target of the year. Ka'imi Fairbairn, late buy, attached to C.J. Stroud. Texans have good weekly implied totals, and he kicks indoors. Love that for Ka'imi Fairbairn. Really good kicker last season. He's my favorite target right now. All right, at defense, usually I've been looking at the Bills. I think the Bengals are gone. No, the Bengals aren't gone. Bengals are not gone. They get New England week 1. Look, I don't think the Bengals are going to be a very good fantasy defense, but if you're looking to stream week 1, Bengals are probably the call. At home against the Patriots, it'll probably be Jacoby Brissett, could be Drake May making his first career start. Really like the Bengals week 1 as the streaming defense. Big home favorites. Like I said, Bills are at home against the Cardinals. Really could go either way here. I'll take Bengals defense against probably the worst offensive line in football. Okay, guys, this is a really good team. Really, really good team. Here's the full board. Man, I like this team a lot. I wish I had some money on this team. A.J. Brown, first round. Jahmyr Gibbs, second round. Like I said, we just took the hammer out to those mid-round receivers, man. DJ Moore, Rashee Rice, once again. We are 5 for 5 on these strategy videos for Rashee Rice. I think the latest ADP I've taken him is at 7. This is probably the earliest here. This pocket is just great. Look at all the blue on the board in the mid-rounds, and look at all the quality receivers in this league. Absolutely high. The deepest receiver has ever been through 6-7 rounds in my history of playing fantasy football. I've been playing for 15 years, and this is the deepest it's ever been. You can draft legitimately #1 wide receivers like Calvin Ridley in the 8th round. I mean, Ridley's probably going to walk to 125 targets this year if he plays 15, 16 games. Might be the #1 target on his team over DeAndre Hopkins. Same case can be made for Deontay Johnson, who's going in the 8th round. Legitimate chance at 125, 30 targets. Questionable touchdown upside with both these guys attached to bad offenses, but in PPR, man, we're going to be racking up the volume. Absolutely fine wide receiver 3s where they're going in drafts. All right, so final recap here. We got Raheem Mostert, Jalen Warren, Chase Brown, Tyjae Spears, all the kind of like interesting PPR passing down backs that we can just like immediately throw in the lineup and get 10, 12 points with a little bit of upside for touchdowns, especially when it comes to Chase Brown, like we were talking about, potentially him being the bell cow. I think Moss will be the early down and goal line back at first. Obviously, Brown will probably be more the passing down back, and like we said, he gets better in pass pro. He's going to be awesome. We took Taysom Hill and Tyler Conklin. Taysom Hill, listen, I know it's gross. I know the guy's absolutely annoying for fantasy. When you have Alvin Kamara on your team, or you have him in daily or something like that, and then you see Taysom out there on the goal line, it is very frustrating. But use it to your advantage, man. If you punt tight end, him and Tyler Conklin, or like we talked about, Noah Fant, Hunter Henry. Dontayvion Wicks rounds out the team with Kaimi Fairbairn and Cincinnati Bengals. Guys, great team. Thanks so much for hanging out. If you liked the team, leave a comment down below. If you didn't like the team, also leave a comment down below. Tell me what you would have done differently. And if you could, please, y'all, subscribe. We're close to 10,000 subscribers. It would truly mean a lot to all of us if you would subscribe and like this video. And until then, see you guys at the top of the leaderboards.